What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I am bringing you a deck that for some reason a lot of you asked me for, which is my updated security control list, the Venusmon security control. And this is a deck that I did take to Texas Regionals this past weekend. Ended up getting 4-1-2 and I think like 40th place, so not the greatest result. Definitely worse than the past major events that I've had with the SetCon. And I think that's because I ended up teching this deck very hard for Crossheart and things like Melga and Grandis. And I played 2 Crossheart, no Melga, and 1 Grandis, so didn't run into the matchups that I wanted to as much, and some of the other matchups that I felt were better in the past, things like Alphamon and Black War Greymon, did feel a little bit trickier because of how much I was more focused on these other matchups. So just going to let you know that this deck is a little bit weird. I definitely, going forward, would probably make some more changes to be not as focused for Crossheart, obviously, because they are going to be getting hit, and I don't think you need to focus as many cards towards that matchup. But let's go ahead and get on into this list, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so to start off, we will have the 4 Venusmon as the Digitama. I've had a lot of people tell me I should go back to Upamon or Cupimon, and I just don't see that being the truth. Venusmon is very strong when you play an option with 2 or more, you draw a card, so this gives you a lot of cycle. And when we get more into the deck, you're going to see why Venusmon can be so strong, because we are playing some cheaper options that just give you really cheap cycle. And so Venusmon is super insane. I think this is just the best egg in the auto 4 of. Now, getting on into the Digimon, we are going to have the 4 Salamon here. This is the auto rookie. This card, you need it in basically every matchup. Whenever I see this early, I feel way better about my game plan, because that means if they start getting in checks and I go down to 3, I can go ahead and just get this free recovery while also being able to get the chip. And then this card is very strong in a lot of matchups, like versus Melga. A lot of the times I just promote this out, continually get value with Venusmon, and then when they bounce it back, comes to my hand, I put it back, and I just repeat until I need to use it to get recovery. So Salamon is just super good. There is a couple other rookies that I was considering playing. This metagame did make it so the promo Patamon could have been relatively decent, but I don't think it was good enough to actually play, so ended up with just the 4 Sala. Then we got 4 Magna. Not really much to say here, just pretty much like the best card in the deck. You want to be seeing this in cycling with Flame Hell Scythe, so auto 4 of. Then we're playing 1 Maycrack and 1 Angelmon as our 5th and 6th ultimate. I was mostly just playing 2 Maycrack for most of the time, but I did like Angelmon just because it does give you the inheritable to get a security attack +1 when you have another purple Digimon on the board, which with this list can come relevant. So it gave me aggression, but also I felt like the Maycrack wasn't as crazy as it was the last format, and so being able to have the on-play security minus to be able to just play or come out of Hell Scythe I thought was very strong, so I just decided to cut back 1 to 1. I don't really regret playing Angelmon. There was a couple times where Angelmon was Maycrack, it was good, and if Maycrack was Angelmon, it was good. So they were both pretty good, relatively different targets. I don't think either of them are totally crucial. And then we got 1 Kaiser Leo as a hybrid, and this was actually a Loemon in the event, but after the event, I pulled this out of my event pack and realized that this is just a better Loemon anyway, because it's 6k, but this is just a hybrid, just because I felt like the hybrid is decent. You're going to be able to get extra aggression and go in. Again, like I said, this deck is teched for Crossheart, so your win condition versus Crossheart is actually clearing their security and going in for game, which is not the same for a lot of decks. And so the purple hybrid helped just be able to clear security, and then you don't have to worry about hitting Flame Hell Scythe or getting something out. You can just put this on top of one of your purple Tamers and go in for game. Then we got 2 Venus, the Star. This card is insane. I pretty much had to break down this card for my opponents every single round because there's just so much going on. When Digivolving, you give your opponent global sec -1, so it's kind of like the Ice Wall effect where it will affect everything. And then opponent's turn, when your opponent has a security modifier, whether that's plus or minus, and even if they're neutral, it's still 2 different keywords. So if they have security attack +1 and the security attack -1, they still have 2 different keywords, so that still counts as having the security attack keyword. Then they get no when attacking or when Digivolving effects. So this card goes extremely hard versus things like Alphamon, Black War Greymon, Metal Garurumon. It can go very hard versus Imperial Dramon when we get into some of our option cards that you can pair with Venusmon. And so Venusmon was just very good. We're playing security control. This is like Skill Drain from Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's very effective. It shut down my opponents a lot of times. There was literally probably 5 or 6 games in the tournament where I went into Venusmon and the game didn't end right there, but it theoretically ended right there. Like, it shut down my opponent so much that they were never going to be able to get the speed to come back and be able to beat me because I'll just be able to out-recover it, and I was just shutting down things like Metal Garurumon when Digivolving, or Black War Greymon when Digivolving, and things like that. So Venusmon, very, very strong. Then we have 2 Sakuyamon Maid Mode, and Maid Mode goes very well with Venusmon as well because the card that we are going to be playing off this is Holy Flame, which is a 2-cost option that we are going to be going over later. So I'm not going to go as hard into Maid Mode right now because I think I'll go more deep into it when we go to the Holy Flame, but just Sakuyamon, when you Digivolve, you get to play a 5 or lower yellow option card for free and then put it on top of your security. So this is a very good card. It's a recovery mega, but you also get to choose the card that you put on top, and with the cards that we're using, it's a very, very powerful card. So love Maid Mode. Then we have 3 Death X because it is so insane versus Crossheart. You can play this for free super early in that matchup and be able to clear out all the things that they play, or you can go just swing into security, hopefully hit Tamers. Like sometimes you want them to hit Tamers, play out things like Ballistamons or Darulamons, so that way you can play the Death X, clear them, play it for free. And so my main win condition, like I said, is kind of outspeeding them. So what I've been calling it is Death X Turbo, because what you want to do is try to just get swings in, get a couple Death X out. They can only clear 1 at a time. Use that Death X to keep them from having extra things on the board. Like if they have a Starmons out, it's going to pop it. That's 1 less check. Then you can swing in with the Death X when they go down to 0, go in with that hybrid. But yeah, Death X is just very good in general, as we know. It was good in basically every matchup, but I was only playing 2, and I decided to go up to 3 specifically for Crossheart. Next up, we got Tamers, and I'm keeping the same standard Tamer lineup, which is going to be 4 Mimi, 4 Kari, 1 BT8 Kari, and 1 TK. Now, I guess I say standard because this is kind of the standard for me. Some lists I've seen have been cutting Mimi, which is insane. This card is just one of the best cards in the deck. It's so good versus most of the meta and just being able to make your plays better. So this card is just an auto 4 of. Kari is also extremely insane in this metagame, especially again versus Crossheart, because when you got 3 of these out, you were able to mitigate a lot of the memory that they would be gaining off these Zenjiros, which kind of made it so that you were more easily able to pass their turn, especially if they didn't get Zenjiros out early and you were able to get Karis out early. It really slows down their aggression. And then I play 1 Kari and 1 TK. You could play 2 Kari, but I like TK a lot because there's a lot of cards that you want to curate out of your security, and there are also option cards that taking them out of security aren't that bad. Like the Holy Flame, it's not terrible if you are going to play it with the Maid Mode. Taking out Reinforcing Memory Boost isn't that bad, but also just being able to grab out your Salamons, your Magnas, those things, Digimon that you don't want in your trash. But I also like TK because there are matchups where sometimes you just want to grab something out of your security that you need in there. Like I've played against Crossheart, played TK, grabbed a Death X, just took the burn, but then played Death X to clear the board because they had like 3 or 4 checks. So by me taking the 1 check to get that Death Xmon, I was able to then clear the board. Now, obviously, I didn't know fully Death X that was going to be in there, but when I played, I looked in there, I saw Death X. I saw I take 1 security check this way to remove 3 security checks, so it's essentially a -2 checks from them. So you can do things like that. So I do really like the versatility of TK. It can be dangerous late game if you have like if you have 2 security, they swing top check as TK, and that next card is a purple card, then you just burn 2. That can be dangerous, but it happens so little that it isn't something that I'm that scared of. Alright, now let's go and start getting on into the options. Start off with the 4 Flame Hell Scythe. Super standard because we want to be recycling our Magna Andromon. Also good with Maycrack and stuff, but mostly you want that removal, that recovery, or be able to play like Andromon to give sec minus. Flame Hell Scythe is just one of, if not the best card in the deck, and really kind of the key piece that makes this deck so strong, I would say. Then we're playing 4 Chaos Degrade, also very staple in a yellow-purple deck because of the power of the card. You can essentially remove anything because there aren't many cards, Digimon-wise, that can stop being removed by Chaos Degradation without the use of something like Kongu. So being able to get around removal, such as the Greymon X antibody removal, where you can't delete them by effects or stuff like that, being able just to put them in security gets around that, and then you trash your opponent's top security, which means you curate your opponent's security. You put a Digimon in there and potentially burn an option card or a Tamer that could influence the game. Next up, 4 Holy Flame. This card you could play at 3, but it's just so good. There are so many turns with this deck where you just kind of want to pass turn. You're going to be at 3, your opponent goes to 3. Passing turn just kind of feels better. You don't want to play out too many resources. Well, Holy Flame is usually just a better pass because if you're just going to put them to 3 anyway, you might as well recover up. So if you played took this out for something maybe a little bit higher in play cost, then it might not fill that kind of void. So I was playing 3 Holy Wave for a while prior to Kansas City regionals, but I went up to 4 and really haven't looked back since. So now we got 4 Holy Flame, which is kind of the card. I have been seeing a lot of people playing Holy Flame, which shows that I wasn't the only one, but this card paired with the maid mode is so strong versus Crossheart. Being able to have them swing in, and then for the rest of the turn they get security attack -1 from the security attack is just insane, because they want to keep recycling their cross 4s and then go into their cross 5, swing for multiple checks, especially with the tie. But when you minus that by 1 each time, the amount of damage that they can do in a turn, opposed to how much resources they have to use, is unproportional to where if you're not playing Holy Flame. So when I was testing to try to beat Crossheart, the Death X's did help a bit, but I really found the Holy Flame to be very good, especially with the maid mode, because there are some cards that I liked that were cheap recovery, such as Tactical Retreat, which gave you a cheap recovery option, but you put a Digimon in there, which, unless you're putting something maybe like Corgermon or Chikurimon in there, it isn't going to be the most impactful card. As to where with maid mode, you get to put a very strong, powerful option card on top to recover 1, use the on-play effect, so this gives security attack -3 to one of your opponent's Digimon, and then put it on top, so when they swing in, they have security attack -1 global for the rest of the turn. So the combo goes really well, where if they have nothing in raising and they have to hatch that turn and have 1 Digimon on the board, being able to go maid mode, give them security attack -3, and then put them on top essentially negates 2 turns of aggression, because they're going to have to... They won't get checks in the next turn because they have security attack -3. They build in raising, and then going into the next turn when they promote, the top check gives them security attack -1 globally. So unless they have a bunch of security attack options, then it again negates another turn of aggression, which you can use to then build up to your Death X's. So Holy Flame was very strong, but this is also the card that made a lot of other matchups very polarizing, because playing it at 4 is so strong versus some matchups and felt borderline useless versus some others. Being able to play it off of maid mode felt good in basically every single matchup, but having it in hand only felt good in some matchups and bad in others. So this card was the card that kind of felt like upped my win rate versus the decks that I was building for, so it did work successfully, but it lowered my win rate versus other decks that I wasn't aware of until really in the event, when I was kind of analyzing my games after and really kind of figuring out what was going wrong. It was just the Holy Flame. I kind of just got too focused on the Holy Flame package when building for this event, and so after the event I kind of had a more realistic thought about it and realized that this card is still strong. You can play this, especially with the Venusmon. It pairs so well, but the 4 of did make it so your hands saw them a lot, and sometimes that wasn't the best. So Holy Flame, very strong card, but it is something that was very polarizing. Next up, we have 2 of this option card, which I have no idea how to say, so I'm not even going to attempt, but if you could tell me how to pronounce this down below, that would be great, because I could not figure it out on the internet. But regardless, this card, if you have 3 or more security, you give one of your opponent's Digimon -12k DP, and then if you have 3 or less security, you put one of your opponent's Digimon on the top of your security. Now, this is a Pulsemon option, so it will work like the promo Pulsemon, where if you have exactly 3, it'll do both effects, which in this deck was very good, and why I liked it, because you could manipulate your security to 3 a lot of times, especially with the Holy Flame, because if you're at 4 and you can kind of just set it up to only one thing on your opponent's board could swing, so they go to 3, and then when you come back into your next turn you can get this, and then this just helped a lot. There was a lot of times where you'd have 2 Digimon on the board. I'm at 3. You have an Ultimate and a Mega. -12 to the Ultimate. Mega goes on top of the security. And now those are both cleared. I can tap my Mimis to make it so you're still just at like 3 memory. So it isn't even that big of an investment. So this card was super insane. But the biggest problem is that if I had more than 3 security, it didn't get rid of Death X, which could be a problem. So I still did play 1 Wyvern's Breath to go along with these. Wyvern's Breath just wasn't really that amazing. Like, it did hit Death X's, but Wyvern's Breath a lot of the times did kind of feel like it could be worse than this card. So this was just kind of a split that I had going into the event. I just wanted to hit the Death X's, but because the Wyvern's Breath was only at 1, it wasn't the most consistent. So it did hit some Death X's, but it wasn't always there, and sometimes it was just an 8k where I was going to be able to either give -15k DP to something that has more than 15k DP, or to something small, as to where with this, it gave me the availability to hit 2 different Digimon for the same cost. Then we got 1 Reinforcing Memory Boost. Pretty standard. This card is just super insane, being able to add a card to your hand and put one on top and be able to choose which it is, and then have delay gain 3. This card is just incredibly insane, so pretty standard. Then we're playing 1 Calling, and even though we're not playing the Juno package, this card's actually way better without the Juno package, is what I realized. When you're playing 3 Death X and a hybrid, calling feels so much better. I had multiple games in the regional where I would get my opponent down to 1 security. I would go for the hybrid, swing, calling, grab back the hybrid, go for it on top of another Tamer, and go for game. And you don't really expect that from security control very often, and so calling was super good. If calling wasn't getting hit going forward, I would definitely play 2 without the Juno package. It was just that good. Like, being able to get Death X's back whenever you want and your hybrids back felt that crucial. There were many times where I was in the tournament saying, like, in my head, that if I just drew calling to either grab the Death X or the Lowy, it was Lowy at the time. To grab either of those, I would be in a very good spot. And so this card, actually just better without the Juno package. Didn't think that was possible. Then to finish off, we are playing 1 Schwartz. This card is something that I kind of wish I played more of just because it was so good in the tournament. But this card is just pretty standard. You get to delete a level 5 or less for every Tamer or hybrid you have on the board, and we have a bunch of Tamers, so you can clear very wide boards, which is why I wanted this. But I ended up not going up just because I did end up going up in the Death X to the 3rd Death X. I felt they were kind of similar. Obviously, sometimes it cannot work with Death X because your opponent could have something like a Solarmon out or something like that. So then Schwartz would be better. Or maybe Death X costs 8 and this costs 6, plus you can reduce it with Mimi, so that way instead of playing it for 8, you can play it for 6, put your opponent to 3, tap 2 Mimis, put them at 1, choke them, and then delete their Digimon. So there were times where this went better, but I decided to go with the Death X over the Schwartz, but this card was very strong and I would definitely go up in it. Alright, that is going to be the list for today. Like I said, it didn't perform as well as I wanted it to. There's definitely some changes that should have been made, but let me know what you like, what you didn't like. Let me know why I'm terrible for playing security control down below, but I will catch you next time. I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out.